to forget all the noble words you said when you get down to the bottom line. Get down to the bottom
Good people, we are back. As you can see, we got a special guest. Check him out, D.A O'Neal in the building. D.A, what's good, my brother?
What is going on, my brother?
You know it, man. You know it. So we're going to be very specific today. As you know, D.A is our defensive planning specialist. Before we jump into our topic, D.A, tell the folks about yourself.
Okay. I am from Carrollton, Georgia, born and raised, only child, single parent household. And from the time I can remember, if there was a sport that my mom could sign me up for, she did it.
Right.
You know, and I think it was to keep me out of trouble. And then early on, she was like, "Oh, he's good. He can run. He can jump."
Okay, now.
And so football and track were my first loves. You know, I was always involved in those two things, and I learned a ton of life lessons from sports. So I'm very appreciative of what athletics has done for me. I was fortunate enough to obtain a athletic scholarship to Mississippi State on the track team, Hale State.
So you had a little speed on you. Okay.
A little bit. Played a little basketball early on, and I stopped growing, you know.
We see that.
But after graduating from Mississippi State, I relocated to Mobile, Alabama, and got in the workforce. And that's when I learned very quickly that while I learned a ton of life lessons through sports, money, or the language of money, was one thing I wasn't very up to speed on. And so
it's a good amount of folks like that, as you know.
Yeah, it was definitely a eye opener.
Right.
But out of sheer curiosity and the need to want to know more, I pursued a career in the financial services industry. So in doing that, learn a great deal, but was just passionate about giving that information to those that I'd grown up with, gotten to know, and realized that nobody's really knocking on our doors and talking to us about some of the things that we need to know unless we're in a specific tax bracket.
Right.
You know, and fast forward to where we are right now, you know, I'm on the IMC team, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that we create financial solutions for those in every tax bracket.
That's right. Yep. That's right. All right. So there he is, DA. Got some wheels on him, athlete, but also passionate and intentional when it pertains to education and informing. And so when we hear defensive planning or defensive planning specialist, what does that mean?
Great question. To me, defensive planning means taking care of or having a game plan for those things that keep you up at night. If something happens to me tomorrow, what does that look like for my family? Are they going to be okay? If my income is disrupted or stopped due to a sickness or injury,
or through some stuttering.
Yeah, through some stuttering, right? What does that look like to my household income or lifestyle?
Right.
If I've done a great job of saving over the years, and as I age, my health deteriorates, who's going to take care of me? Or better yet, who's going to pay for it?
Right.
I think answering some of those questions is what defensive planning means to me. You have answers to those questions, you're able to sleep better at night. You're able to know that everything's going to be okay, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so it sounds like defensive planning, they are not sexy conversations.
At all.
But it's definitely important. And we all know in the sports arena, y'all can see the football jersey in the background. Not because I was a defensive player, but defense does win championships, and that is a factual statement. So one of the elements of defensive planning, it sounds like, is life insurance.
Sure.
Tell us this: do you have life insurance? And then, if so, why or why not?
I without a shadow of a doubt have life insurance. Why is multiple reasons. One, like I said, I want to make sure that if I'm no longer here, my family is going to be okay. And in addition to that, I want to make sure that the goals that my wife and I have set for ourselves and our daughter will still be able to take place if I'm not here. You know, the thing about life insurance is that it is something that you provide for somebody and you're not going to see them obtain it. Now think about that for a minute. In order for my wife to receive proceeds from a policy, I have to no longer be here. So quite frankly, it's not anything that she wants. But in the event that I'm not here, you know, there's going to be some sadness that comes along with that. What you don't want to do is put your family in a financial burden as well.
Okay. So what were the first steps in identifying, all right, I want life insurance, then what? What were your first steps?
My first steps was determining what my budget was. First and foremost, you know, what do I have the ability to allocate towards this defensive product or plan on a monthly basis? The next step was determining what is my need. And at the time, I wasn't married. You know, I didn't have a child.
So what led you to get it so early? You know, not dependents. Typically folks think, okay, I got to have a baby, you know, a couple of babies, you know, get married, have a whole bunch of liability, whatever, you know, but what led you to go ahead and jump in and say, all right, let me go ahead and go through this process? What was the process again, life insurance? That's probably even a better question. Well, hold on. Well, before you get there, tell us how you got to deciding to get an insurance, and then we'll get to the process.
After learning how life insurance works, you buy life insurance with two things, your age and your health. And at the time, and still today, you know, we work out a little bit. But I was young and I was healthy. You don't want to wait till you're older and you have health issues. Insurance could cost a little bit more. But the vision that I had, you know, I knew one day I would get married. I was hopeful that I would have children. So I wanted to go ahead and lock in a low rate and be able to get the amount that I needed for the lowest price possible.
Okay. All right. So continue on with so you put together a budget. Wanted to make sure everything was lined up from a dollar amount standpoint. Now you mentioned the insurance that once you pass away, the proceeds goes to the beneficiaries. Now, like, aren't there different types of life insurance policies?
Yeah, you have the most notable, and you may start an argument talking about these two, but you got term and you got whole life.
Okay.
Those are the two most popular. You have other variances of those two.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Yeah, we don't have to get into the specifics now because this is a quick take. So ultimately made a decision to acquire life insurance based off of some of the life events that you knew were going to happen. It just may not have manifested at that particular time. And then as well, being able to benefit off of, all right, I'm young, I'm healthy, I think. Let me go ahead and lock in. No, we healthy because I got a salad right over here to the right of me that we're chomping on. Right. But young, lock in a good rate. Go ahead and move forward with that. So life insurance ultimately, as you mentioned, has an element of I don't want to say unknown, but potentially unknown. Like, all right, what are they going to do with the money? Touch on some of the other decisions one would have to make with life insurance, because you hear some of the pushback. Well, I want to say we would get pushback, but you see some of the pushback of others when it pertains to getting life insurance on more of not knowing what they would do with the money. Aren't there a few decisions or documents they can have in place that can help with that?
Yes, you can have a will in place that can direct where you want those proceeds to go and how you want them allocated. A trust as well is something that can help you decide how the contributions are going to be dispersed out. But, for me, I'm not worried about what my wife is going to do with the money. I'm more worried about making sure they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I have a fantastic financial consultant that my wife would sit down with in the event that I'm no longer here. We have a will in place as well. That we both have our own individual ones. So, as you accumulate additional assets, you can update those things, more children, things of that nature. But for me, it's just making sure that there's going to be enough resources there. I think that's the key. Ensuring that the resources that you would have had the ability to bring in for your household would still be able to be there in the event that you're no longer here.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really good. Again, as we mentioned, defensive planning plays a major role when we think about planning for the future. Also, when it pertains to your financial foundation. And so when you think about your life insurance and the way in which you may have a defensive planning strategy, or you're thinking about putting one together, take into account what my biggest takeaway is, making sure you have the right amount. And so even if you have additional coverage through your it may be through your corporation or through the nonprofit you work with, if you already have some type of group benefits, that is fantastic. That may be icing on the cake. But really look at what would you say, DA? I believe you call it the dime strategy when you try to factor in the overall amount. How did you get to the right amount?
Well, how I got to my amount, I literally walked through what did I want to take care of personally. And, that can range. People have different aspirations, even in the form of giving beyond what you may do for your household. But yeah, like you alluded to, I think the dime method is a good starting point if you don't know what you want to take care of. And so with the dime method, DIME, the D stands for existing debts outside of a mortgage. Any debts you may owe, whether it be a car note, credit cards, outstanding loans. If you owe your cousin Jimmy a couple of dollars, you can factor that in as well.
Only if it's on paper. Only if it's on paper.
Only if it's on paper. Student loans. Although student loans do not fall on a spouse in the event that you're no longer here, but you could be an honorable person and you want to just make sure that the debts of your spouse are paid off, is solely up to you. The I stands for income, income replacement, and how you would calculate that is really identifying how long you would want the income that you had coming in to continue to come in for a specific amount of time. It could be 6 months, it could be 6 years. I think it depends on what your ultimate goal is. The M stands for mortgage, which is why the D is all debts outside of the mortgage. And then E is education, which of course is dependent on if you have children. And, education costs are rising annually, and I think there's a big difference on if you want your child to go to Jacksonville State or the University of Alabama from a cost perspective. So you have to factor those things in, or Alabama State or Tuskegee. I got to give my HBCU.
That's right. Yeah. And I got to shout out my Florida folks, Florida State, FAMU and our folks out in Georgia. So we got folks everywhere. So I don't even know why we just started that, but but that's good. That's good. And in all occupations, right? It really doesn't matter what industry you're in. You could be a professional athlete all the way down to an hourly employee at Walmart or at Wendy's, right? If you have someone that is dependent upon you, your ability to generate income, I believe that is a major life event or trigger to start looking into life insurance. And then two, if you have an aspiration to accomplish certain goals and objectives, have an impact towards an organization, leave an inheritance to your college or university, you can be as creative as you want to. Any entity that could receive the proceeds. But if there is something that you are passionate about ultimately, and you want to make sure that that passion is funded with the right resources, if you are here or not, I think that is a proper vehicle that you'll be able to leverage. We'll be able to get into the different types of life insurance. I think that will probably be a very meaty conversation. Drop your comments, hit like, share, tell a friend, tell that friend, and tell another friend. Again, insurance is not the the conversation in which you go to a barbecue and say, boy, but let me tell you about this life insurance. That's not that dialogue. And it's definitely not going to be the dialogue during Classic, but it is one within the classroom of IMC. But also it should be one at the dinner table of each family that's listening to this. And so, what's up, big dog? You got closing remarks?
Yeah, I do want to make two quick points. As you alluded to, it is not the sexy thing to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about offense, whether it's your 401k, your IRA, Roth, crypto.
Of them big. Let me get some of them Bitcoins, my boy.
Yes, sir. And you utilize sports. Defense wins championships. I was watching the football game Sunday. Arizona Cardinals. I forget who they were playing. The Titans, I think. Kyler Murray had a fantastic game. If you watch Sports Center, they'll talk about he had 5 touchdown passes. He can run. He can do a lot of things. The reason they were able to be so aggressive on offense is because their defensive end had 5 sacks, 3 in the first half. So just like sports and finances, if you have your defensive game plan in place, I feel like that allows you to be more aggressive offensively, because now you have your worst case scenarios. You have a game plan in place. And so you can truly allow your resources that you have on the offensive side to really take place and sustain. If you don't have adequate emergency savings in place, that investment that you have over there, when, an emergency happens, you're probably gonna have to pull it from there. So you want to think about those things as well. And then lastly, beneficiaries. I urge anybody that has life insurance in place to, on a regular basis, at least the annual basis, in my opinion, check on your beneficiaries, update them. Things in life happen. You have more children, you have divorces, knock on wood. I hope nobody's listening has to go through that, but it happens. So you just want to make sure that everything you have is up to date. That's very important.
That's good. That's good. That is really good. And just for our audience, nothing during this podcast is recommendations towards your financial situation. So please do not take it as that. So any investments, please consult a financial advisor, and they will be sure to take care of you. Check. All right. So with that being said, good people, please stay tuned. We have much more content. As you can see, this is just a slice of many pies of defensive planning, even when it pertains to the overall umbrella. I'm glad that you mentioned that the role liquidity plays, right? They say 3 to 6 months of bill paying ability saved up in cash. We like to say 6 to 12 months. I think the pandemic, those that were impacted by that, by reduced hours or eliminating positions, we really see how that could impact one's ability to keep a level lifestyle while being able to still make future decisions. So grateful for our defensive planning specialist to join us today. Again, like, share, comment. Let us know if you have any questions. Please send us a message or just leave a comment. But with that being said, you already know, stay planning.